Bribery. What's the big deal? Bribery has been making big headlines around the world for some time now. GlaxoSmithKline, the contaminated baby milk scandal, the Beaujolais affair, not to mention Rio Tinto, have all brought the clampdown on corruption in China into sharp focus. To give you an idea of just how prolific bribery is, it is estimated that $1 trillion is spent on bribes around the world every year. Corruption not only contributes to an uneven commercial playing field and distorts markets, but it also allows organised crime, terrorism, and other such risks to society to flourish. It contributes to inequality and injustice, creates social unrest, and undermines both government and the rule of law, which, in a nutshell, is bad news all round. So what is being done about it? Well, in China, it is exactly the social unrest stirred up by the vast inequality between corrupt officials and the general populace that is just one of the drivers behind the unprecedented clampdown on bribery and corruption championed by Xi Jinping. Tackling such issues is seen as crucial to the CCP's legitimacy to rule. It is impossible to underestimate the scale of this task in a country traditionally viewed as being inherently and institutionally corrupt, but Xi Jinping's leadership has proven beyond a doubt that it is committed to eradicating corruption. To this end, the CCP has introduced its Tigers and Flies campaign, so called as it is intended to catch corruption at all levels, ranging from high-ranking officials to small-time grease payment takers. Western companies and individuals are not immune from this crackdown. Just ask these guys. So what lessons can we learn from these events? Well, it is clear a new, tougher regulatory environment now prevails in China, with implications for every business operating on Chinese soil. It's difficult to know what, who, and how the Chinese government will target next in its clampdown on corruption. Businesses operating in industries important to China, such as media, pharmaceuticals, auto, food, and mining, would be well advised to be extra vigilant. All businesses need to reevaluate their risk-benefit calculation. Is reputational risk, plus the very real risk of criminal charges, massive fines, and even imprisonment, worth the potential profits to be made from lax compliance and corrupt practices? The answer must always be a resounding no. It's not too late to get clean. Get your compliance program up to date. Foreign companies in particular must play by the rules at all times, no matter the temptation to do otherwise. The question to consider is no longer how much business can we do in China, but simply how can we do business in China. So, while all this has been going on in China, what has the clampdown on bribery and corruption meant for the UK? Well, the UK Bribery Act was introduced in 2010. Heralded as the gold standard for anti-bribery and corruption, it is one of the most comprehensive regimes in the world, absolutely and without notable exception criminalising any form of bribery. It applies to all businesses and individuals with links to the UK and strikes at corrupt conduct regardless of where in the world it takes place. It also introduces strict criminal liability for businesses when corrupt acts are carried out in their name or to their benefit. This means businesses are automatically liable for the acts of their employees, agents, and suppliers, regardless of whether they knew about it or not, unless the business can demonstrate it had adequate procedures in place to combat bribery. So what's been going on in the rest of the world? The clampdown on corruption is happening on a worldwide basis, and the increase in enforcement of anti-bribery and corruption regimes can be seen everywhere. Having said that, there is no international corruption law or standard. There is, however, an increasing convergence between different jurisdictions' laws. Most jurisdictions' regimes, including both the UK and China, now make no distinction between bribe givers and takers, treating them both the same way. Have anti-bribery laws which have extraterritorial effect, meaning they cover corrupt acts regardless of where in the world they take place. Most prosecute bribery as a criminal offence, and most hold both the individual and the business for which he was acting liable. So what does this mean for you?
Employee, agent, manager, contractor, business owner, consultant, director, CEO, broker, middleman, employer, group company, salesperson, distributor, HR, accounts.
In a nutshell, the onus is on every one of us to stamp out corruption. So what can you do about it? Well, should you choose to do the right thing and keep your employer, customers, clients, not to mention yourself, out of hot water? The answer is simple, but we will spell it out anyway. Comply. Comply with your employee handbook, your company's code of conduct, your company's gift and corporate hospitality policy, and all due diligence and recruitment procedures. Comply with your company's reporting and whistleblowing protocols. You must also comply with your company's charitable and corporate social responsibility policies. And not only that, but you must do your utmost to ensure third-party compliance by your suppliers, agents, and other intermediaries, and enforce your company's anti-bribery stance at all times. You must also complete and keep up to date on your anti-bribery and corruption training, which is where we come in. Be alert to bribery and corruption risks at all times. Take note, bribes come in many guises: cash, gifts, kickbacks, corporate hospitality, travel expenses, grease payments, use of business assets, commissions, nepotism, charitable and political donations, to name but a few, more on which later in our China Sure training app. Should you choose to do the wrong thing and do a deal with the devil, then you personally are facing an unlimited fine and up to life in jail in China, or worse if you're a Chinese government official. Back in the UK, you personally are also looking at an unlimited fine and up to 10 years in jail. And no, double jeopardy does not apply. You can be tried for the same crime in 2 different countries. So once you've served your sentence in China and the Chinese authorities have taken away a chunk of your assets and fines, when you come back to the UK, the British courts will throw the book at you for the exact same deed, and you will face up to a further 10 years in jail and another unlimited fine. Not only that, but you may also land your business, employer, clients, and customers in hot water, who, as a consequence of your corrupt behaviour, potentially face criminal prosecution in China and the UK. And need we repeat that they need not even be aware of your corrupt misdoings in order to be criminally liable. If found guilty, your business, employer, clients, and customers all face unlimited fines in both China and the UK, as well as being barred from public contracts in perpetuity. They also face reputational damage and a corresponding loss of customers seeking to distance themselves from a dodgy supplier and escape the taint of guilt by association, the financial ramifications of which are incalculable. Unless, of course, they are able to demonstrate that they have adequate procedures in place, in which case you're on your own. So there can be no excuse for bribery. None of these excuses will help you in a court of law in either China or the UK. Together, we can wipe out corruption.